Hello everyone and welcome to Module 13 of Single Subject Research Designs, and this module will focus on writing a literature review. So when we talk about a literature review, we're going to be talking about this as part of your research proposal. So the literature review is the first part of your research proposal that basically gives the lay of the land in terms of the topic that you selected. So you can see on the screen here that I have the logic model of someone in this class. So I wanted to show this to you so that you can see kind of how everything is fitting together at this point. So here is the logic model that you guys created, and this is an example of one. So here we have the dependent variable of compliance. So this is the behavior that this person chose to focus on. So increasing compliance. So based on the article matrix that this person created, these are the independent variables that have been associated with compliance. So researchers have looked at these independent variables or these interventions as a way to increase compliance. And the person selected as the context, classroom rules, class-wide PBIS. So these are kind of larger things that would affect these as well as the dependent variable. All right, so this is what I wanted you guys to create so that you could kind of think about the behavior of interest and what other researchers have used to increase or decrease, depending on if it's a desirable or undesirable behavior, that topic or that behavior of interest that you are interested in. So here is the completed logic model. So based on this logic model, this person wrote this research question. So I thought that was going to highlight it, but I guess not. So this research question is there a functional relation between teacher training for effective commands and increased rate of child compliance? So again, here's the dependent variable, compliance, and the intervention of interest or the independent variable is teacher training for effective commands. So this would be where this person is focusing on, command delivery. Okay, so this is the completed logic model along with the associated research question. So this is going to drive your research proposal. You have done the hardest part, and that's identifying your dependent and independent variables and creating a research question based on what that literature shows or based on your interest and the research that you've done so far with regard to finding previous research that has been conducted on your variable of interest. So now we'll go and use the same person's article matrix. So here's the article matrix that she completed. Okay, everybody's article matrix looks similar to this. So here we have the dependent variable. So this is the dependent variable of interest, which again is compliance. So all the way down this column, you'll see that there is the word compliance in each cell, and that's because that is the dependent variable of interest that was highlighted right here, right? I don't know why I keep doing that. Okay, let's stop. I'll try and stop that. All right, so here we have the different independent variables. So these independent variables are probably going to include all of these. Okay, because that's where she came up with these based on the studies that she read. All right, and then for each study, there's the setting, the participant age and or grade, the disability category, the research design, and the results. So here she has a completed article matrix. So now all of the literature has been organized into a table. All right, so for the next part of the process of writing your research proposal is now taking this logic model, this research question in this article matrix and forming it into a literature review. So what you are going to do is you are going to summarize all of the studies that you read into a cohesive review. All right, so let me show you an example of what a cohesive review would look like. So here's an article that I wrote with a graduate student in Minnesota. And so the focus of this article was self-monitoring and students' academic engagement. So for the purposes of being a, okay, so let me say this. If we were to create a logic model for this, academic engagement would be the dependent variable, all right? So that would actually go here. And the independent variable, or what would go in one of these boxes, is self-monitoring. All right, so that's the independent variable that we chose to focus on. So the dependent variable, or the behavior that we wanted to change, was academic engagement. And the way we wanted to change it was by using self-monitoring. So we did a literature review on self-monitoring to increase academic engagement. And so this is what our literature review looked like. First, we had to explain what academic engagement was, and we got that from the articles that we reviewed. So based on those articles, how did most of the people identify or define academic engagement? And why was academic engagement important? So why is it important for us to want to increase academic engagement? Then we went to, all right, what are some interventions that have typically been used to increase academic engagement? So all of these different interventions have been used, but the one we want to focus on was self-monitoring. Okay, so again, so now we're saying, okay, self-monitoring, and we went back to all of the articles that we read and said, okay, how do the majority of these articles define self-monitoring? So what does a self-monitoring intervention consist of? And when was it used? How was it used? And how effective was it to increase engagement? So that's what all of this is. So it just kind of gives an idea of what our dependent variable was. How is it defined? So academic engagement, how is it defined and why is it important? And then we talked about the dependent or the independent variable of interest, self-monitoring. How is it defined? How has it been used? And has it been effective? So that's when we came to the end and said, okay, based on all of this research, our research question is. So you are going to do the exact same thing for your literature review. You are going to go back to these two documents. You are going to go back to your logic model and your article matrix, and you are going to, sorry about that, you are going to tell me all about your dependent variable, how are you defining it, and why is it important? So why is it important for you to either increase this behavior or decrease it? Then you are going to tell me about the different independent variables that have been used to increase or decrease your dependent variable. You're just going to give me a short paragraph. Then you're going to tell me the one that you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on command and delivery, then you are going to write a paragraph about how command and delivery is defined, how it has been used, and how effective it has been on either increasing, or in this case, increasing the behavior of compliance. All right, and then you are going to end with your research question. So your research question will be stated in a way that, for example, it could be based on the literature that we have reviewed, and for the purposes of this study, the research question is. And you can actually put it in a question form. Okay, so that is what a literature review is, the purpose of a literature review, and how you organize your literature review. All right, so I will put this article in the folder as well so that you can use it as a reference if you just want to look at it, see how we organized things, so you can see that the literature review does not have to be huge. Okay, for the purposes of this assignment, I'm looking at about 2 pages. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you guys have a great week.